Hello, it's James Dainard, and we are back on Bigger Pockets on the Market YouTube channel presented by Fundrise. Today, we're going to discuss the difference between cash-on-cash return and cash-on-equity.
Only problem? I bought it from a fake seller.
James Dainard just walked over to my desk.
If you skip the first 3 steps, that's the easiest way to lose money. So why would you use these two methods when you're looking at buying real estate? First, I use cash-on-cash return to evaluate new potential purchases. As an investor, I've established my own set of buy box. For certain types of product, I have a set return. By doing this, it allows me to make a very quick decision on what I want to buy and what I don't want to buy. In addition to, it allows me to plan out my portfolio and what kind of returns I want to make. So when I'm looking at the next potential investment, I'm always looking at how much money do I need to put down and what's going to be my annual return. By having these set returns, for example, on single family homes in certain geographical locations, I'm shooting for a 10% return on every investment. If any investment that I'm looking at in the future does not hit that 10% mark, it goes on to the pass pile. So cash on cash return is something I use more for when I'm acquiring properties. I use return on equity to maximize portfolio. So every year I sit down and I evaluate my whole portfolio. I look at what properties I own, what is their equity position, and then what kind of cash flow that they're generating. In addition to, I then analyze, is there any further upside in that deal? As I'm analyzing my portfolio, I want to see what kind of equity position I had. How much appreciation did I obtain for that year? Since the pandemic, we've seen the highest appreciation rates that our country has ever seen. This has created a substantial amount of unrealized wealth in the market. The purpose of analyzing the return on equity is looking at how much wealth you've accumulated and whether you can do better and maximize on it. So equity is only good if you realize it. There's really only 2 things that you can do to realize that equity inside your portfolio. The first thing is you can get a HELOC or an equity line of credit on your equity position. This is where you go to a bank, they'll give you a second mortgage on your property that allows you to draw it up and down over time. The negative part is you're over leveraging some of your assets. One thing I know is over leveraging as an investor can be detrimental. You don't want to maximize out too many of your properties and get trapped into certain types of situations. That's why I like to analyze my portfolio and then utilize my equity through doing things with 1031 and reverse 1031 exchanges. I purchased a property 3 years ago that I was told everybody I was never going to sell. It was a massive compound that I got on a good buy. I purchased the property for $535,000. I put over $100,000 into the repairs, and the new appraised value, or today's value, is $1.35 million. Because of the equity position, I was able to refinance and get almost all of my cash back. I only have about $50,000 still remaining in this property. I'm netting out over $40,000 a year in cash flow, which is an 81% return on investment. And in addition to, I have over a $750,000 equity position. And this is where the trap is. Many investors think that they're never going to do better. They have this property, they're making 81% on their investment, they have all this equity, and that is okay. The difference between me and a lot of other investors is I don't like to settle. I'm looking at it as I have $750,000 in gunpowder that I can go do better with. So let's look at the true return on equity. The property generates a little over $40,000 a year in income. There's over $750,000 in equity. So once you divide the two, the true return is around 5.4% return. So even though I'm cash flowing at over an 80% return, I'm really only getting a 5.4% return on its full potential. And this is where, as an investor, I want to take my blinders off. I want to go, how can I maximize this money and get myself into an even better position? The first thing I need to do is realize the tools that can help me get into that better position. The one thing about selling property is you are subject to taxes. You can be subject to a short-term capital gains tax. That is nearly 20% of that $750,000 equity position. By utilizing the tools of a 1031 exchange or a reverse 1031 exchange, you're able to defer those taxes out and then utilize that tax savings on your next potential purchase. Another tool for maximizing your equity is selling the property and investing in an opportunity zone. This will also allow you to defer off your taxes and utilize that equity position to purchase that new property. Because of the equity position that I've created on my rental property, I'm now able to maximize more leverage and look at purchasing an even bigger property with higher cash flow potential. Your equity position and tax savings through the 1031 exchange gives you a substantial down payment that can expedite your portfolio and allow you to increase your unit count dramatically. So let's look at the math behind one of these trades. So again, I have this property in Seattle, Washington. It's a single family house, an ADU, and a garage. It generates me $6,800 a month or $3,400 a month in cash flow. It has a $750,000 equity position, and I'm getting it ready to sell to go put into the next property. Since I already made the decision to sell that property, I put together an off-market campaign and I've already sourced my next investment. So anytime I'm looking to do the trade, I'm always looking at two different things. A, can I increase my cash flow position? And B, can I get into another property that can give me that next big equity jump? The property that I'm selling off is kind of maxed out. I already bought it on the discount, I put in the strategic rehab plan, and I got that massive appreciation pop. So the next property that I'm trying to reload into, I'm looking for that same opportunity. Not only am I able to increase my cash flow, I'm looking to increase my equity position and wealth position overall in my portfolio. So I sourced my next property and the acquisition price was $1.4 million. It was a value add property because it had a lot of deferred maintenance, rents were below market, it needed a full facelift for us to maximize out the value. This is what I was trying to source, something I could pay under market and increase the value with a strategic rehab plan. In addition to, I'm able to increase my cash flow dramatically. So remember, I was getting $6,800 a month in that property, $3,400 a month in rent income. With my new 8-unit acquisition, each unit is going to rent for $1,500 a month. That increases my monthly cash flow to $12,000 a month, nearly double what I was getting on the property that I said I would never want to sell. So I'm purchasing this property for $1.4 million. I'm putting $250,000 into the renovations, and the new stabilized value at a 5 cap is going to be $2 million. So in addition to doubling my cash flow on this property, I'm creating an additional $290,000 in wealth. And this is why it is so important to always look at what's your return on equity. As you grow your portfolio is worth value, but it's only worth the value if you can utilize it. So look at what you have going on and can you do better? Look for these substantial trades. If I sat there and was content with every rental property that I ever owned, I would never be able to make these massive jumps. Because remember, even on this property, not only am I doubling my cash flow, I'm increasing the equity position by $290,000. I then can tap into that equity position and reload into a bigger property down the road or in the future. And this is how I can exponentially grow my portfolio over a 5-year period. Not only am I increasing my cash flow position and equity position, there's additional kickers in doing this kind of evaluation. So things that I'm able to do out of this. I'm able to reset my depreciation schedule when I'm trading into a new property. That's a tax savings. So that is also going to go into my return and increase my portfolio position. Because I'm buying a larger property, I can actually do a cost segregation, which is going to save me money on taxes annually, whereas I wasn't able to do it on my single family house. So this process can rapidly grow your portfolio in your annual cash on cash return. But there is certain things that you need to look out for before you make those trades. So things that I consider. What kind of property do I have? Does it have any additional upside in that property? I don't want to trade out a high cash flowing property that has huge upside potential, maybe it's zoning, just to reload it into an apartment building. The ones that I'm looking at are the ones that are maxed out in equity and that are kind of maxed out on potential. When you're looking at purchasing your next replacement property, there is things that you want to consider when you're looking at the total metrics. You want to look at what's your dead time on your money. When you're selling out of a cash flow item and you're buying into a value add property, you need to make sure that you budget for holding times. You need to make sure that you have the liquid reserves to offset your cash flow. Because remember, you're now not going to be getting your return during that month, and you're going to be putting out expenditures stabilizing that building. By the time you buy that property and you stabilize it, your rate could be higher 6 to 12 months down the road. So as you're looking at trading out into different properties and you're really looking at the trade on your cash flow, make sure that you're kind of accounting for possible higher interest rates. Just because you may pay a higher interest rate doesn't mean that it's a worse position. It's okay to pay more for your money if your cash flow is going up and so is your equity position. If you've been investing for the last 10 to 20 years, you've been working your butt off, and you finally got to this place where you have this portfolio that's paying for your lifestyle, it might not make sense to keep trading things around. At some point, you do want to relax and have a good time. But if you're a newer investor and you want to grow your portfolio rapidly, this is one of the best tools you can use to analyze it. When we first started investing in 2000, 2015, we started with 10 single-family rental properties, and by using this method, we've turned it into almost 2,000 doors in the Pacific Northwest. But this does require a lot of work, patience, and a lot of dead time on your money. A lot of times we're trading out our returns now for returns down the road. So these are all things that you want to think about before trading things around. Where are you at in your life? How comfortable are you with your lifestyle? Do you want to do better, or do you just want to maintain? I want to thank you guys for joining me on Bigger Pockets on the Market YouTube channel presented by Fundrise. If you enjoyed learning about building more wealth, like and subscribe. And for more free information, check me out on YouTube at Project RE or on Instagram at JDaneFlips.